What's up, everybody? Welcome back. As promised, I wanted to do a quick video talking about what I know about intermittent fasting. I'm only about 10 days into the protocol. There's the first thing that I learned, that some of these things have interesting jargon around them. Intermittent fasting is called the protocol. You can use that in a conversation at a dinner party. Dinner party. You can use that in a conversation at a dinner party. But yeah, so without going too far and rambling on, let me just tell you briefly what I know about intermittent fasting. I've really, a couple people shared resources with me that I want to pass on with you. The first one I want to share with you is Dr. Jason Fung. He is a leader in the intermittent fasting community. If you watch his videos, he has his own YouTube channel, but I would just recommend searching Dr. Fung Intermittent Fasting. He's had a lot of interviews with other channels. And when you listen to him talk, he really breaks down from a medical terminology, scientific terminology, what intermittent fasting is. And it's pretty approachable. It's not hard to understand what he's saying, but for me, sometimes I like simpler. And then another guy I've been following, Fledge Fitness. This guy's an in-shape guy, and he talks about intermittent fasting. And he also talks in a way that's really easy to understand. I would recommend both of those resources. Just Google Fledge Fitness or look on YouTube for Fledge Fitness or Dr. Fung. I find it to be helpful. So I'm just going to break down what I know about intermittent fasting with an analogy, and I think Dr. Fung used this one a little bit. It's the Prius analogy. And so a Prius is a hybrid electric car, and what it does is it primarily uses battery electric power, and then when it's out of electric power, it uses gasoline. So this is a car that runs part of the time off of electricity, and part of the time it runs off of gasoline. And so this is kind of how intermittent fasting works. Our bodies, part of the time, runs off of this primary energy called glycosine or glucose. And then part of the time, it can use energy that we've stored as body fat. Now, what determines which energy method you're going to use is based on when you eat. And so there's a hormone in our body called insulin, and basically the idea of insulin, it is a trigger that tells the body which kind of energy source to use. And so when you're eating throughout the day, the insulin will kick in and it'll tell your body, hey, I've got fresh energy coming in, use that energy. And so if you want to liken it, it's the battery. It's the primary energy source for our body. So if like the Prius, it always wants to run off of the battery. And our body kind of does have a preference. If it can use incoming energy that is triggered by this insulin, it's going to use that. So the insulin's kind of like our battery. Now the challenge is, if we have more energy than we need, then that energy gets stored as body fat, and that's why we become obese. And so what you want to try to do is find a way to convince your body to use the body fat. This is where intermittent fasting comes in. By going long periods of time without eating, you are not triggering that hormone insulin, and your body is forced to use your stored body fat. I guess the aha moment for me is that sometimes in my life there have been periods where I wake up and I snack and I nibble and I eat all day long. I never have a period where I am not using the primary energy source that is triggered by insulin. So the cool thing about intermittent fasting is it allows your insulin level to drop down, and it triggers the body, okay, there's no more active energy to use, let's use some of that stored energy. Unfortunately, it takes a period of time for your insulin to drop down. When you start to eat, it spikes straight up and then it trickles its way down, and it's got to get really low back to a baseline before it starts using the body fat. This is what intermittent fasting does for you. This guy over at Fledge Fitness says that it takes anywhere between 8 and 12 hours to deplete your insulin back to baseline. And so in a scenario where you're eating for 8 hours and you're fasting for 6 hours, if you stop eating at the end of your 8-hour period, then you've got about 12 hours for that insulin to trickle down, and then your body to finally switch over to using your body fat. So you've got like about a 4-hour period of eating body fat or using body fat for energy. This is the basic principle. I don't want to go too much more deep into it. You can watch these other videos, but that is the idea. You just want to train your body to use a different kind of energy source. You want to use the energy source that's already stored in you, your body fat. This is how you lose weight. But at the same time, you can't starve yourself. So you can't not eat. And so there's going to be some period of your day where you're using that active energy, and then there's some period of the day where you want to deplete some of your body fat. Now, if you want to take it even deeper, you can target food that is going to not spike your insulin. And that's why people who follow the keto diet, this works very well with intermittent fasting, because out of all of the macronutrients that can trigger insulin, protein and fat do that in a less spiky way than carbohydrates. And so if you lower your carb intake, you are going to lower the height of that insulin spike, and you're going to get back to baseline quicker, and your body is going to need to use your body fat quicker than if you are using sugar and using glycogen all day long. I hope that makes sense. So that's why keto works well. I guess the big takeaway, so for me, I've had success. I've only done it for about 10 days. I've had success just eating what I want inside the eating window. I am eating from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day, and I am fasting from 8 p.m. to 12. So it's a 16-hour fast with 8 hours of feeding. I have yet to alter my diet, but when I do alter my diet, the idea is to get on a diet that reduces carbs overall so that I have a smaller insulin spike. I have a smaller opportunity to continue to use the active food, the active energy, opposed to the stored energy. Now, this is not for everybody. Again, I'm not a health expert. I'm just some dude that watches videos on the internet, and I listen to hundreds of people give me advice. I do need to go to my doctor and run all this by him. I don't have a doctor. I need to find a doctor. I need to go run this by him, all of that stuff. So before you do anything, I don't think this works with people with certain types of diabetes. And so you've got to be careful with all of this. You know yourself better than I. Don't just go on my word. Check it out and talk with your health professional before you try any of these things. I should take my own advice, but I'm trying to lose some weight. That was longer than I hoped it would be, but if you got some value out of it, please hit the like button and leave a comment telling me that it makes sense what I'm saying. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer it.